I'm near Linden, Virginia, just off of Interstate 66. That's the noise you hear in the background. And this is one of the trailheads for the Appalachian Trail through Manassas Gap. Here's the parking lot. It's a great big parking lot. That road out there is called Tucker's Lane. Yep, there it is. My little red car. A storm came through here last night. We got the western edge of the hurricane as it came up the east coast. But hopefully things are dry enough to hike. We'll see here shortly. I'm going to hike up the Appalachian Trail to the north, up to the Manassas Gap Shelter and back, hopefully. The elevation here is 825 feet. Three-tenths of a mile into my hike. The elevation here is 910 feet. That's where I came from, up on that ridge, down this way, and I just stopped here to show you this. Some old road that used to come up through here. I'll mark the location with my GPS, and when I get home I'll take a look at some older maps and see if I can see anything. But that's definitely an old road, and it's right next to this gully down here that drains this area. So, and I'm going to continue on along the AT this way. Eight-tenths of a mile into my hike. I'm up to 1180 elevation. There's the AT where I came from. And when you get to this spot here, if you look to the right, there's this little side trail. I believe this leads to an overlook. So I'm going to follow it down just a little ways and see. There's so much tree growth and leaves in the summer that it may not give any view right now. In the wintertime it probably would though. But let's go down and see what it looks like. Okay, well, about a tenth of a mile down a little trail, it's blazed blue. Here's a little bench you can sit on, and maybe you can see just a little teeny bit. That's looking to the south. And there's the other side of Manassas Gap over there, the south side of the gap. I'm climbing the north side. So in the wintertime, this would probably be a nice little view from here, but because all these leaves would be missing. But for now, not so good. 1.5 miles into my hike. I'm up to 1,370 feet. I'm not to the shelter yet, but I just stopped here to show you this spot here. This looks like a really nice potential camping area. But I gotta check. This might be on private property, so I'm not going to give the exact location until I know for sure. We will be going into a wildlife management area, state-owned, but I haven't seen any signs yet, so that might be private property. So in the meantime, I'm going back out here to the AT and keep climbing the mountain. 1.5 miles into my hike, I'm up to 1,400 feet. Now, when you get here, it's kind of tempting to go straight, but that's not blazed white. This is over here, and you see how the top blaze veers off to the right, so should be a right turn. So I'm going to turn right and continue on the AT. That probably, after looking at my GPS, that probably heads up into this Thompson Wildlife Management area, which I don't think we've gotten to it yet based on what my GPS is showing me. So that potential camping spot back there, you can forget that because that's on private land, and so is this. Well, we're going to turn right and continue climbing the mountain on the AT. Okay, as soon as you take that right-hand turn, start looking to the right and you'll start seeing this stacked stone fencing here. It's heading downhill that way. I don't know how far it goes. Maybe in the wintertime you could figure it out, but this is part of it right here, and it's heading on up the side of the mountain for a ways, so we'll see how far it goes. .6 miles into my hike, I'm up to 1,490 feet, and here's some more of the stone wall running along here. There it is, heading down the mountain. And continuing on up this way. Two miles into my hike, I'm up to 1,710 feet, and I think I just walked into the wildlife management area. There's a sign saying welcome to Appalachian Trail Lands with a white blaze, but right next to it all of a sudden I'm seeing yellow blazing. So, and the color on my GPS map just changed from white to green, so this is probably the boundary. I'll save this location and double check it against a map when I get home. Got to keep climbing the mountain though. 2.5 miles into my hike. I'm up to 1,660 feet. And here's the turnoff to the shelter. And I see a camp spot right there. So there's probably some camp spots between here and the shelter. So let's go down and check out the shelter. I gotta drink some water. .6 miles into my hike. The elevation here is 1,650 feet, and here we go, Manassas Gap Shelter. We got the shelter. I passed a couple of tent spots, camping spots on the way in. Got a picnic table here. Doesn't look like anybody else is here right now. Got some places to sit next to the fire there. It's got a grill thing on top. In the winter time, you may have a view looking to the south. Here's the inside of the shelter. One level. This shelter's a legend. If you look through all the logs, there's been, this thing was built sometime in the 30s. I'll have to look it up, but I mean, it's got a history of snakes and rats and mice and everything else. So I don't know. Maybe they got that problem squared away now. Over there is, in that box is the log book. I'll just keep my hands to myself with all the COVID stuff going on. And I'm going to go down the hill here a little ways and see if I can find the, down this way and see if I can find the spring. Okay, well here's the spring. It's down a fairly steep little hill. So you got a nice pipe there, pretty good flow. And downhill from here, I guess it's too much of a bog for any trees to grow. Look, wide open spaces right here. So there you have it. There's the spring. All right, there's the outhouse. Practically had to hack my way over here though. It's like a jungle, look. Back that way to the shelter. I wrote a few notes on the back of my map. This shelter was built by the Civilian Conservation Corps in 1933. And the logs are chestnut. Looks pretty good for something built in 1933. This is a map of today's hike. The quadrangle name is Linden, 1994. And I hiked the Appalachian Trail from one of the trailheads up to the Manassas Gap Shelter. This purple line is Interstate 66. And here's Linden, Virginia. This road is Route 55, and just south of that is this black line is the rail line. All three of these come through this narrow gap here, Manassas Gap. It's a gap in the mountains. So you park right here. There's a trailhead for the Appalachian Trail. This is Route 725. It's called Tucker's Lane. And you park here and get on the Appalachian Trail, and basically I just hiked it north all the way up to here, to the Manassas Gap Shelter. Okay, now on the way up, when you get to here, there's a turn to the right that takes you down to about here, and there's an overlook there. There's a bench where you can sit, and it's an overlook looking this way to the south. Now in the summertime you really can't see much, but it probably would be a nice view in the winter. Then continuing on up the side of the mountain, starting about here and running up along until to about here, there is a stacked stone wall there. So obviously somebody lived up there once upon a time. And then continuing on up, when you get up to here, there's a turnoff, and it takes you to past some tent sites, and then finally to the Manassas Gap Shelter. And then below the shelter, down a steep trail, is the spring. And this shelter is been there for quite a while. It was built by the Civilian Conservation Corps in 1933. So it's had quite a history up there on the mountain. And then basically turn around back down to my car. It doesn't look all that bad on the map there, but it ended up being 5.2 miles and quite a bit of ascent, 1,249 feet of ascent. So it's a pretty good workout. It's almost exclusively uphill going this way, and then it's downhill all the way coming back down. And that was the hike for today.